Single Simulcast is about a lot of things. This podcast may make you laugh, cry, or pound your fists into your desk. If you hear something you like or something you don't, leave a voicemail at 916-572-9016 or email us at singlesimulcast@gmail.com.
1. Single Simulcast.
Single Simulcast episode 288. Shantae's in the building, and today we are joined by I'm trying to think of the easiest way to put this. We are joined by let's just say a luminary in the world of podcasting as far as I'm concerned. He's been doing this for quite a while. He has a multitude of shows. He runs a network, and I think that a good number of y'all will know him just by his voice. I am pleased to say that we are joined by Brandon, aka Phenom Black, from the Where's My 40 Acres podcast and podcasting network. Brandon, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. What's up with you?
Man, nothing at all. Just got back from taking Kid Austin to his basketball training. Got to do that every Wednesday and Friday. Makes me realize that if I had just tried to play basketball, I might have been good at it. But I've always been, able to tell people what to do instead of doing it. I'm a lifelong coach. Like, I can tell people that they're about to get killed in a video game, but I get in the game and nothing good happens either. So, tell them something about yourself. Tell them something about your show. The floor is yours.
I feel like the introduction was pretty spot on, but I mean, yeah, podcasting, this is pretty much my unpaid job. It's my 8-year internship, and this is what I'm focused on all the time. If I'm not doing this, I'm watching movies with Ashley, playing with the dog, respecting you parents, because I'm definitely not in a good frame of mind right now, and listening to music, jamming it at Cardi B.
Yeah, I heard it went gold already.
What's up?
I heard it went gold already.
It went, so it's like a technicality gold. Basically, Bodak Yellow went like 10 times platinum or something. And it's, it somehow that equaled out to giving her album gold already.
Really?
The amount of spins. Yeah, the new way they do this whole digital streaming thing and the IRAA certifications, dependent upon that, somehow, because it was an article that broke it down, but it was some really, really nerdy stuff that I didn't care about from a math perspective. And I'm just trying to jam. I'm not really trying to do analytical calculations for how Cardi B got that gold. I'm just glad she got it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was basically Bodak Yellow was just so big that she got kind of like this these fall off numbers that contributed to her album sales, which jumped her right to gold.
That's dope.
Well, good for her.
I mean, like, day one gold. Like, you can't take that away from her, No matter what else they say, you got to say day one gold for her. And that's, dang, I wish. Like, I'm wondering how many other people that's happened to, or is she the first person that's ever happened to?
First day gold?
Yeah.
Beyonce sold 80,000 copies of her album in like 3 hours.
True.
For Beyonce when it came out at like 3 a.m. or whatever.
True.
So I'm pretty sure she probably hit gold that day. You have artists like Taylor Swift that have done like 1.8 million sales in like 5 or 4 days. So I'm pretty sure those artists also hit gold. Probably day one. I don't know though. Maybe Cardi is the first one to do official gold the first day, but I think that, I don't know. I feel like some of these pop artists, they sell so ridiculously. Like Eminem, 50 Cent, Taylor Swift. I'm pretty sure they've all done it. The Beyonce first day, but you never know. I could be wrong. Maybe it took them 2 days.
2 days is still like super impressive. But yeah, I do agree. I'm confident that at the very least Beyonce and Taylor have done it. Folks who go diamond at some juncture probably go gold over the first day. Do you think
you'd be surprised? You'd be surprised about the diamond thing. That tends to be like over time. Like Adele's sales started off slow and then they grew exponentially. I mean, to the point where I think she was like double diamond or something ridiculous by now with 21.
It's a good album.
I mean, it is.
It's a good sit by yourself and just ponder shit album. I can't even front. I Melt My Heart to Stone gets me right there in the middle of my chest. Be like, words that and I wonder if she knows how much Childish Gambino helped her out, because I hadn't heard her song until I heard his song, and then I went back to find out because I was like, who is that? Because I think the only song I'd heard from her at that point was Rolling in the Deep, and so I hadn't made the connection. And so I was like, okay, let me find out who made that part. And I was like, okay, cool. That Do It To You song that he had on one of those mixtapes. But yeah, at this juncture, you are like a podcast mogul. Like, you got like 4 or 5 different shows you're doing right now, right? With Craft Beer Killers and Where's My 40 Acres and movie trailer reviews with Chris, and there's more, right?
I mean, it's Where's My 40 Acres is, first child, firstborn. And that's pretty much like the only one I'm like raising full time. Craft Beer Killer is actually Deidre's podcast. So that was her concept, her idea. She doesn't have the equipment to do it. She will next week. I'm tweaking a mixer and a mic set for her now that I'm going to ship her, and all she'll have to do is plug it in, and she will be her own podcast creator and producer at that point. And all the other extra stuff that we do is premium content, but yeah, the stuff I do with Chris as well, that's a joint like DC Critics podcast, that DC Movie Critics review podcast that we basically do together, because it really, you need a person to help you when you, in my opinion, if you're running a podcast network like both of us are, and you're trying to do DC Critic film reviews, you kind of need another person, because you're going to get looped into this going to see 3 films a week, 2 films a week, and it's better when you can split that load. Plus, everybody doesn't have the same taste in film, so, we kind of can bounce off each other with that. I'm more into like comedy, crazy black stuff, thrillers sometimes. He's more into like the action stuff, the shooters, comic book films, of course, and, like heist stuff. So it really is an easy split off load. But yeah, all the extra stuff that I do is pretty much just under the umbrella of 40 Acres, besides the stuff I do with Chris for the movie reviews. If there's any other shows you see us doing, like the Boob Tube film TV show reviews for Atlanta, or like movie stuff where we like recap the whole season of Jessica Jones or anything like that, that's all premium content that we're doing. It is definitely more work, but it's all still under the 40 Acres umbrella. I think Craft Beer Killers will be the only one that branches off. It has its own RSS feed, its own iTunes, Google Play, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hoping that it'll grow its own legs, and I'll end up having to design a whole site separate from ours for her to give that podcast its own face. But yeah, that's the plan.
Now, you said you see 3 movies a week. Have you seen Acrimony yet?
No, because Tyler Perry does not do critic screenings of his films ever. He does not. I've never been to a Tyler Perry produced, written, or created film screened. I've been to screeners where he was in the film and it's not his, but anything that's a Medea project or Tyler Perry specific, he is, because typically he's the writer, director, and producer of his stuff. He's a very big-headed individual. Those projects never get screeners because they're going to get panned. They're never good. They're never really good films. So they're going to get panned. He knows that, and he just doesn't care, because the critics that are going to tear his films apart are not the audience that he's selling his films to anyway. So he just doesn't do screener.
I'm dying to talk to somebody about Acrimony.
Her ride did it. You can go.
Oh yeah. I called him. We might just have to do it for the Patreon. I gotta talk to somebody about it because I got issues. Like, I've had issues with a lot of Tyler Perry movies, but none of them. It's like, without saying too much, Acrimony was like him saying, you know what? This is the culmination of all of my movie experience. I'm gonna put every bad trope I can into one movie and call it Acrimony. Boom. What y'all like now? And I mean, as far as a turn your brain off movie, if it was a movie that was on TBS at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday during baseball season, and it's raining outside, it has to be raining, and my car is out of gas, and I'm sick, then I watch like half of it.
I don't know. I feel like turning your brain off to watch Tyler Perry films, or even like establishing that footing when you're going to watch one. Like, it's okay, guys, I'm going to turn my brain off. I feel like that's giving him a pass, because in actuality, that is not what Tyler Perry wants you to do when he sees his films. He puts a lot of moral, like, his films are like built around his own moral compass, and he wants you to learn lessons from the shit you're watching on screen. There's not a film that he's done where he does not have some type of, and here's a lesson for women. And it really is most of the time, and here's a lesson for women. Rarely does he have a film where I'm like, I'm trying to give you men a lesson. Even in Daddy's Girls, that wasn't a lesson for men. You know, it was more, see this black man struggling to be a good father to his kids because his ex is crazy. Hint, hint. Like, he has a problem with colorism. He has a problem with, like, he definitely has light-skinned heroes. He definitely has an issue with, like, tearing women down in his film, and then them having to learn from their mistakes, which sometimes is just straight up victim blaming. And the last time we did a watch of Why Did I Get Married Too, we realized he has an issue with homophobia too, which he had put in his film blatantly, just put it right at the end of his film, which I found interesting because I've always thought that he kind of straddled the line.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. I know he claims he's into women, and that's, I mean, you can, sexuality is fluid, so, you can be whatever you want to be with whoever you want to be with. That's fine. Doesn't bother me, but I think he has some issues with being perceived as such.
And do you think that it might have been, made even more so when the Boondocks came out and did that whole episode talking about his sexuality and really just getting on him about it? I remember he was furious about that episode.
They weren't just going after him; they were going after Lee Daniels too with that episode. And I don't think Tyler Perry, he might have responded negatively or been upset over it, but I honestly think that, given the fact that he was homeless at one point, he was probably abused. He's very church heavy, which is always, I think, definitely for somebody his age, could not have been a very positive experience. Maybe dealing with the fact that you might be gay. I hate saying the word homosexual sometimes like that. You might be gay, but you're also church bound, and yeah, and that's your audience too. Your audience is churchy, faith driven folk, black folk. Yeah, you kind of gotta be, I assume that it is not an easy thing to deal with as a black male in the entertainment industry who's been through the things he's been through. So I sympathize with that. But outside of that, his depiction of black women, I think, is egregious at best.
And, Shantae, are you gonna go see Acrimony?
No.
Okay,
no.
good. Then
like, I thought about it for 2 seconds and then was like, nah.
Then I'm good. I'm okay to say this. That group, there's a bad black art group.
Yeah. Yes, I left that group because I was like, nah. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There's a bad black art group, and within that group, they show pictures of bad black art. Like, Phenom, you're a part of it. Like the woman whose vagina led to Africa, or something.
Oh my God.
Something like that. And I don't go in there anymore because there's a lot of, it's degenerated into a whole lot of hurt feelings. But, one person that I noticed was popping up frequently as far as pictures was this guy named Justin Richburg. And Justin's MO is to, have a quote nice guy in the first scene of his picture trying to get with a, I don't even know, with a woman. And the woman's like, you're too nice. I don't want to mess with you, whatever. So then in the second scene, Justin always makes the nice guy really successful. And the woman is crawling to him like, please take me back. I'm so sorry. Rescue me from this life that I'm in right now. And he's like, you didn't want me back then. Why you want me now?
Okay, that reminds me of Alex L. He kind of, his style, I guess it almost looks like Grand Theft Auto or something. Or maybe that's just the way his logo looks like the Grand Theft Auto font. But he has made things that are, like some nerdy guy, some guy who we think is going to be typically seen as unattractive to some super duper attractive woman. And, the tables turn 5 years, 10 years, whatever down the line. And he's a super duper businessman making six figures in his nice, luxury sedan and everything. And she's pregnant with, a boyfriend who's in jail, and she's got 2 kids and she's struggling, and, she's trying to get back with the dude who she rejected. And he's like, fuck out of here, bitch, or whatever, get out of my face, tramp, you didn't want me, now I'm hot, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like all of his pictures are like Mike Jones production.
Right.
And that pretty much sums up Acrimony. And it's strange how, like, the trailers have nothing to do with the movie. The trailers makes it seem like it's a psychological thriller. You're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Nope.
Because see, that's why part of me was like, oh, maybe I'll give it a chance. See Taraji, do her whole, thriller, Glenn Close, Fatal Attraction, whatever. And like, it's got, the movie is just like, so the dude was trying to get with Taraji. He didn't, she didn't want him. He makes a come up and now she's trying to get with him.
The way that the story is that, this guy meets Taraji in college and they fall in love, and he's brilliant. He's a brilliant mind. And he's working on a battery that's never has to recharge and can power like a whole house, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some like the niggas trying to make vibranium.
Okay.
And so he doesn't have a job, and she has money because her mom passed away, and so she's funding him through school.
Okay.
She paid for him to go to school. She paid for him to do his research, all that kind of stuff. And so he uses all of her money, and she's flat broke. And then they take a mortgage out on the house, so they're flat broke. And then he doesn't pay anything on the mortgage, so now they're foreclosing and they lose the house and they're flat broke. And he's still working on this same project. And it's like years. Like, this isn't like 4 or 5 months. It's like 19 years of him not having a job and him saying, well, just trust the process. I'm gonna make something of myself. So finally, at some point, she gets fed up and calls him a shiftless nigga and is like, I'm gonna divorce you. Fuck you, kiss my ass. And he's like, nah, baby, I love you. Ride with me. Just continue to ride with me, even though she's ridden for like 19 years. Continue to ride with me. I'm not going to get a job, but ride with me. And she's like, nah, dude. So they get a divorce. During the divorce proceedings or the negotiations, her lawyer is like, we are willing to leave you with your clothes and your car. He's like, I still love you. I still love you. And she's like, fuck you, nigga. You ain't worth shit. 4 months later, that nigga's worth $325 million.
Of course.
And she wants him back.
Oh.
That's the movie. Long story short.
But see, that goes back to like what Brandon was saying, how the lesson for women is to, you know, stay the course. Ride or die. You know, because if you don't ride or die, you could end up like Taraji 4 months later. She had held out for 4 more months. That's myth. That's a myth.
And then, like, it still feels all it fills the Tyler Perry checklist. Taraji Henson, is like, she's aggressive in this movie. She hits him. When they first meet, she runs into him and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And, leaves his stuff all in the water. He brings her her papers. I don't even know how he knew where her room was in college, but he brings her papers to her, and she's like, I threw your shit away. And it doesn't change. Like, they say throughout the movie, you know she crazy. You know you don't want to see her go full bitch. So that's one thing. Her sister, she has one sister who's mean as shit, like all the way through. Like the first time she meets this dude, she's like, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. And then she has another sister who's like, we should give him a chance. The mean one is dark-skinned. The nice one is light-skinned. They each have a boyfriend at the time, a fiance. The one who's always telling her, Taraji's boyfriend, you need to leave. The aggressive one, he's dark-skinned. The one who's nice and all calm and stuff, he's Mexican. And I feel like it's the same Mexican dude who's in all of Tyler Perry's movies. Because I've seen him before. I just don't know where. Like, I just figured it was a Tyler Perry, like a Medea Goes to Heaven or whatever came out recently. But it really, I'm glad to know that I'm not the only person who felt that way. Like, I know I'm not the only person who felt that way about Tyler Perry, but I'm glad to hear it out in the open, because folks be like, man, he's just the best writer and the best everything, and I'm like, who? Who? Him? Oh, okay. Kind of felt the same way when folks telling me that Nelly's writing was off the hook. Like, who? Him? Oh, okay. Country grammar. So, yeah. So, what movies have you seen recently then, Fino?
Let's see. I was supposed to see Blockers, but I couldn't make it. I saw A Quiet Place.
Is it worth it? Without saying anything, is it worth it?
Quiet Place?
Yes.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I saw
some hotel websites are just too complicated. Secure, it's like that.
Too. What else is there? I'll be seeing Rampage Monday or Tuesday next week. And we already got the date set for Infinity. So, yeah, pretty much everything. If I can't make it to a film, that's typically the only time I don't actually see it. So if it's coming out that week, more than likely I've seen it.
And this without having Movie Pass. You get press screeners, right?
Yeah, so we get early screenings, and there's basically, they send out an email and they're like, these are the screening dates, these are the times, let us know which ones you'd like to attend, RSVP. That's pretty much how that works. So it's all the studio set it up. They have like a publicist or press type media group out here that actually handles everything on location, security, acquisition of the theater, I think, and actually taking the tickets and, you know, filing people into the theater and whatnot. And sites like ours actually help with the distribution of the free passes, giveaways, raffles, etc., stuff like that.
And I know that when Black Panther came out, y'all secured like 2 theaters, one in Los Angeles and one in DC, right?
Yeah, so Los Angeles had a whole experience, they had a whole experience set up. They did a tour. They talked with somebody that actually worked with the film or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And then they went to, they rented out a theater. In DC, we basically rented out a whole theater. And then we did a meetup party afterwards at a little bar spot.
Now, how did y'all go about getting all that put together? How much time, what was the timeline on that?
We decided to do it probably a month and a half in advance, was when we made the decision that we wanted to go ahead and do it. Believe it or not, renting out a theater actually doesn't cost that much. It depends on the size of the theater, right? So you pretty much get a discount for buying all the seats at bulk, but you have to pay for the whole theater up front. You're looking somewhere in between, probably, depending upon what area you're in and how much tickets go for at the actual time of the showing, which would affect the ticket prices, which would affect the seat prices, stuff like that. You're looking anywhere between, for 100 plus seater, maybe between 100, 120 seater, or about between $1,000 and $1,300, depending on what type of theater. And you got to remember, we did this in DC. Theaters in DC are not cheap.
Exactly.
So we ended up shelling out somewhere between that, but it's all money made back as long as you sell all the seats out. So from there, you just use a service, a Ticketmaster-like service, not Ticketmaster because their fees are ridiculous. Something like Brown Bag or Brown Paper Bag or whatever. And then you basically just put the tickets on sale and, sell your seats out. We got a theater for Black Panther. That sold out in 5 minutes. For us, we probably should have did a bigger theater, but we didn't anticipate that. We did Wrinkle in Time, but we didn't rent a theater. I brought about 50 seats in a theater. So I did a group purchase of probably the best sections in the theater, probably 2 weeks in advance. And then just put those tickets on sale to whomever. And we had people from, podcast listeners buying them to just random people who saw it. Tickets were on sale for them to go watch Wrinkle in Time with some other black folks. So they just brought those tickets.
Now, even though you're primarily getting your movies through screeners, when it's a big enough movie like Black Panther, Infinity War, Deadpool 2, I'm throwing that one in there because I'm hopeful. Do you go see it with your folks, or do you still go to the screener?
So I saw Black Panther 3 times that week.
Yeah.
I saw it Tuesday for the screener. I went back and watched it at the Smithsonian in DC on IMAX, real IMAX, not AMC Theater IMAX. And then we did the screening that Saturday. So I actually saw it Tuesday, then I saw it Friday with Ashley, then I saw it again Saturday for our theater purchase. And it really depends on the movie. There are a lot of films that I go see that I know Ashley would want to see. So I'll screen it, do whatever. Sometimes she comes to the screens with me instead because it might not be a film that Chris would like, but it'll be a film that I know me and Ashley would like. We screen those and we do reviews for those as well. But if it's a film that I see and I'm like, Ashley would really dig this, then yeah, we will go see it again, probably that Friday or that Thursday. And I do have Movie Pass, so I've used it before.
Yeah. And
then sometimes we go see independent films on our own. We got little old theaters out here, more intimate setting type theaters that play independent films. And I'm an independent film person. I'm a Sundance Film Festival person.
Mm-hmm.
I like watching those. So Oscar season I love Oscar season because I like those types of films. And I don't necessarily want to pay $15 to go see them in a theater. Or maybe I just want the ambiance of Charles Theater in Baltimore to go see them, which feels like a 1950s type theater setting or whatever.
Yeah.
So you'll go watch them there. not as comfortable, but the crowd is different. It's typically like older white people, and they really know how to shut the hell up during a movie and pay attention. So I think part of it is because they can't hear very well. And they're all in consensus on that we need to shut the fuck up so we can all hear what's going on. And we'll go see independent films there. It creates a whole ambiance and a feeling. You know, we'll make it a night. We'll go see a movie and go get something to eat around the same area, make it just a whole experience. But yeah, Ashley and I see movies twice all the time.
Okay. As far as independent movies, the last one that I saw was, well, in the theater, because I don't know what's independent on Netflix at this juncture. If there's a movie on Netflix, I just watch it and I'm like, that was good or that wasn't. There was one that I just saw yesterday about a young lady who gets on the wrestling team. Because her dad was a wrestler and that's how she wants to get close to him. It was good. It was cool. But the last one I saw in the theater was called Gook. And it was about two Korean Americans and an African American living in Watts, I believe, right around the time of the LA riots after the Rodney King trial. And I walked out of that theater in tears. I mean, there's nothing, to me, a movie experience, there's nothing quite like it. Like, there's a place in Santa Barbara that is, I think, reminiscent of the theater that you were talking about with the ambiance and the 20s decor and all that. Their popcorn is horrible. Like, I don't know why they think this is a good idea, but they have the popcorn, they sell you the popcorn, and then you gotta walk to a different section and put the butter on top of it. So you're only getting butter on the very top of the popcorn. It never ends up well, but just everything else about it is just wonderful. And I've seen some of the worst movies in there and made fun of them with a bunch of white teenagers in Santa Barbara while eating a Habit burger, and it was great, like Suicide Squad. We tore that one to pieces. And Dark Tower, which I thought it was okay. Like, I know there's not going to be a sequel, but I thought it was okay. Let me see, what else? Movies, music. That's the other thing. On top of all that, you're a photographer. And a really accomplished one.
I don't know about accomplished.
Dude, I've seen your pictures out here in California. Like,
what?
I've seen your pictures here in Cali.
Where?
Aaron Rand Freeman.
Oh. Huh?
Yeah. I believe he has one of your pictures. I think he purchased one a little while ago.
That's what's up.
Yeah. How'd you get started with photography?
Ooh, music. So we were doing, cause you know, Where's My 40 Acres podcast is a hip hop podcast originally. Still is. And we were doing festivals. So I started going to a music festival called A3C out in Atlanta. We had to do interviews, take pictures. So the first year we went, I had this little Sony Cybershot, and you know, I didn't know any better. We went out there, we did some of the most terrible audio and video interviews you'd ever see. We took pictures that just weren't that good. And I think actually, no, you know, I had two cameras. I had that and I had this Rebel XSI, this Canon that I had picked up when I was like, I guess I need to buy something that looks professional. So that's what I picked up. And I went out there and I took some pictures and I was like, I'm not really into this picture shit. I'm kind of just doing these interviews, right? And I was like, but I'll take some pictures. I got some okay pictures, but it wasn't anything I was hype about. I realized though that I could start getting into concerts to do concert reviews because that camera looked professional, quote unquote, you know. So I was like, well, shit, I can just apply and get into concerts for free and I can do concert reviews, you know, and I'll take a picture to make it look like I care. But what ended up happening was I needed a camera that could do video for these interviews. The second year we went back to A3C, so I upgraded to this 60D, which I still have now. 7 years later. Damn, that camera been living. And I went out to A3C again, and I think I took pictures, and I did a couple accidental shots that came out really well. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of dope. And it ended up flipping. I got tired of doing video interviews But the more I walked around the venue, the more I kept taking pictures, and just of the city of Atlanta, period.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came back, I started doing more concerts, started expanding my ear and doing like rock concerts as well, pop concerts, anything that came to DC where I would listen to the artist and go, okay, I dig a few songs. I'll go check them out if they'll let me in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, white artists, their managers will let you into a show as press photography much quicker than rappers. I don't know what rapper tour managers be doing, but them niggas don't never check their fucking email. So I have a very hard time getting into up and coming rapper shows, but I have no problem getting into a very popular white rock artist's show that is sold out months in advance. Like their shows will sell out in a day, and I can get in for press the day before the show. It's ridiculous. I don't know why it works like that, but well, I know why. My people. But I started taking pictures, and I just got better at it, and I started to care more about my pictures. So I started actually. I've never taken any classes or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I read stuff online sometimes. I go to like digital photography, a studio or school or whatever. And I just started playing around, and I kind of developed my own little style. It's nothing great. I'm definitely in my mind still an amateur, no matter how great my pictures look. I still don't like do full setup shoots, or like I just started doing portrait stuff for people. I think I've been asked like twice to do a wedding, but I'm really scared to do it. And yeah, that pretty much is it. So it's a laborless chore for me, the photography thing. I just like doing it. I definitely like doing it for Comic-Con. So that's when it became serious, when I started being able to take pictures at San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con of like actors and stuff like that. I was already doing musicians. I've shot Kendrick and stuff way back in the day. I shot all on TDE before they were huge. But when we started doing these cons on the West and East Coast, and you started getting in the room with like legit actors, and you get on the first line, you get to interact with them and take pictures. And that was a whole different ballgame, because now I'm on the same line with like Wire, Wire Image and Getty. You know, like the professional photographers that you see on the red carpet at the Oscars and stuff. The really rude people that be yelling at people.
Mm-hmm. Look this way!
Yeah, it's very real. They're a lot of them they're cool people when you talk to them on their own, but sometimes I feel like the way they treat actors and stuff, I don't fit within that element, because I'm not about to yell at somebody I don't know to show me a bit more skin.
Oh,
so I can take a picture. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not my style.
And then below that is probably what, paparazzi?
I think these guys actually do paparazzi work as well. When I sit and listen to them talk. That's their business. It's how they make their money. Yeah. They make their money like porn stars off the money shot. So
what about like just, well, before I say that, the beautiful thing about pictures, the beautiful thing about photography rather, the beautiful thing about art to me is the realization that there's beauty everywhere. And really just embracing that and looking for it, like really searching out that beauty. Like you said, the photographers, the paparazzi and the photographers are looking for the money shot. You're looking for something that's unique and beautiful and something that draws your eye or piques your interest. And those are the pictures that you're taking.
I'm looking for a dope shot. Yeah. I'm looking for a dope shot that I like, that I want, because I'm not trying to sell it to a magazine, or I'm not getting it for a newspaper. I'm not getting it for IMDb or anything like that. I'm looking for a dope shot to give people somewhat of a feel of the experience of being there. Mm-hmm. Which I'm glad some people have told me, like, I feel like I can see what was going on visually from your pictures, and they're not just like a picture of a person, but they're like a picture of a person doing life shit. That's what I want to capture. I think just taking pictures of people, and when you look at the pictures that everybody has, it's the same angle, it's the same shot, it's the same face. They don't even sit down with them in Lightroom for 5 minutes. to give it its own aesthetic feel. That's not me. So that's not how I take pictures. That's probably why I don't make a lot of money or any money at all from doing it. Which is fine by me. I have a full time, so.
And I think that's part of the difference is that you're doing this, for lack of a better term, for the love of the game. Where they're doing it, like if I don't take this picture, the next person will take this picture. So I think that doing it the way that you're doing it leaves you with, it leaves you unshackled from having to be beholden to any group. Like we need you to get this many pictures of this by this amount by this time, so then we can do this article. I think that's the way it should be, though. Just feeling it, like feeling the atmosphere and feeling the energy and seeing the colors and just, this is perfect. And for me, it's landscape pictures. Like I love a good landscape shot. And just looking at ways to frame it, and okay, the sun coming up right now over these trees that are still dark, so it looks almost like a drawing. I have to capture this, and like you said, it's not generally for anybody else, but sometimes it's just something that's just like, okay, this one's nice. I admire the fact that you grew from being like, I'm just doing this so I can get into the show, to I'm doing this in lieu of the show. Like, I want this to be a part of the show for everybody else. Do you ever think about maybe teaching other people, like through your experiences? Like, I know that there's people, I know for a while Scar was doing photography, and now he's doing liquid art. And
he's still dating or with the same woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a beast at the photography stuff. She's really good. Like, I admire her. I feel like she's way more polished and technically savvy with a camera than I am. Yeah, she's really good.
Huh, that's dope. I'll have to pick her brain a little bit. I might do a 20 minutes with her.
She's posted pictures in our Facebook photography group, Flashing Likes.
Oh,
she's in there.
I didn't know. Well, I had to check that group out.
Somebody had to start one. We didn't have one. We had all these people trying to pick up cameras, and they didn't have anywhere to go for information. So I just got with our graphic designer Jose, and we started I just made a Facebook group. It's not super active, but it's a lot of interesting material in there, videos, and we check out each other's pictures. We're honest with each other, what we like, what we don't like. We help each other set up like portfolios for one another. And yeah, so I just wanted there to be a place, a place where people could interact with each other who were trying to develop a passion for this, or maybe just even trying to develop it as a hobby.
That's beautiful. And it's beautiful that there's a space for this growth, and that you saw the need for this space and that you developed it. Because a lot of folks would be like, we need that space. Well, I'm gonna go watch this movie real quick. Somebody else can take care of that. And it speaks volumes that you were like, I'm gonna put this together. Let's do this. Podcasts, movies, pictures. So, as far as the music goes, like, you get into concerts, you now are listening to rock. Like you said, you're listening to pop music, you're listening to up and coming rap artists, you're listening to rappers, you're listening to everything moving. How has Where's My 40 Acres expanded as your musical tastes have expanded?
How has Where's My 40 Acres expanded relative to my musical taste? I think sadly we don't do eargasms as much anymore. Specifically because we're all listening to so much different stuff. And there's so much stuff out here to listen to that I think it's difficult for us to come together and go and with focus, like, okay, we're gonna review this album because we all know we're listening to it. So I think the thing that I have started trying to figure out what I want to do is to actually start reaching outside of Where's My 40 Acres to do Eargasms, to bring it back, because we have a lot of knowledgeable people about the genres that they love, that they follow hardcore, that listen to our podcast. And I think tapping that resource is going to add a new voice of interest for people listening for Eargasm reviews. So what is essentially allowed is for us to just talk about other things besides just music reviews. And it's sometimes I forget that we're a hip hop podcast because we'll do a whole episode discussing how college is trash, for people from a financial perspective, and that it's all this country's fault. Like last episode, where we talked about Reflection Eternal for like 10 minutes, and we talked about how you probably should really think about if you're going to go to college or not from a do I want to be in debt perspective as a millennial now, for about 45 minutes. It became more personable. Our conversations directly related to our experiences, and the topics grew from that organically. So I think that that's helped a lot. And it's also allowed us to randomly introduce people listening to new artists that maybe only one host on the podcast was listening to. So even the other hosts now kind of become the audience in those situations. It's like, have you heard of these young ladies or this person? And everybody in the podcast, they get their first time to listen to something that's different. It's outside of hip hop. And I think that makes the show more interesting. And I think we have more people who relate that way, who've been listening to us for years. They're like, because we always had people who told us, oh, I don't listen to rap music as hard as y'all do, but I like listening to y'all's opinions about hip hop. It makes me kind of want to go check stuff out. So it kind of gave me a resurgence to go back and become a hip hop fan. And then we'll talk about Jack White. Yeah. And all of a sudden, a bunch of people are like, yo, you listen to Jack? Oh, I didn't know y'all listen to Jack White. Yo, he's so good. Have you listened to this person? And have you listened to this person? And to me, that's dope, because now you're helping me funnel through the noise to find dope sounds. And it's coming straight from the people who listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's another way that we've grown for sure.
I was on Spotify like I frequently am. Actually, I was on Spotify because of you. Strangely enough, I saw the post that you put up somewhere about how Rhapsody had killed a verse on Prime 2.
Which she did.
Yes. And I was like, damn, I didn't even know Prime 2 was out. So I ran to Spotify. That was a week ago, or so. Ran to Spotify and listened to the album like 4 or 5 times. And to me, that album is... Prime's just such a beautiful duo. It's just fun. But I was listening to that, and then I switched over to one of my playlists, which was 80s music. And I'm listening to 80s music while I'm doing my work, and I realized that I have like 4 or 5 hip hop songs on there, but the rest of it is pop, and it's all white folks. And then I'm like, you know what? A lot of these 80s playlists don't really have a lot of black artists on it, or R&B at all. Like they'll have Cars, and they'll have Africa by Toto, and they'll have all these things, and they might have Let's Hear It for the Boy, a movie soundtrack. They might have Ray Parker's Ghostbusters on it or something like that, but by and large, you're not going to hear like Shaka Khan. You're not going to hear Loose Ends. You're not going to hear Sky or Cameo. So I made a new playlist and called it the Definitive 80s Music Playlist.
Mm-hmm.
It's got everybody from LL Cool J to Tina Reid to Sheila E. to Hall & Oates to Culture Club, George Michael, Kenny Loggins. Like, it has everybody, and I'm just like, I want people to know. I mean, people in the 80s, people who grew up in the 80s probably know inherently that there was more music than what they're getting to hear on these Spotify groups or on these Spotify playlists. But for folks my kids' age, you know, I don't want them to go out there and think, okay, this is all the 80s was this, hey, 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 even though I do love that song. But it's more than that. So I've been working on that all day today. And so one of the things that I was listening to on loop while I was working on it was Back on the Block, by Quincy Jones. And I think that might be the greatest album I've ever heard. Like, all the way through. And it's difficult to say that, especially with the, person who, listens to music all the time on the line with us, but, just as such a pleasant, aesthetically pleasing album, I can sit back and listen to every song on there and just smile. Like, it's not something that just makes me amped up or anything like that. It just puts me in a really good place.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, at this point in my life, for a long time in my life, what I'm looking for are really pleasing, good places. And I found that, you know what? I can't say that it's the most, because there's other artists, there's other albums that make me feel the same way. A lot of the internet's albums make me feel that way.
You talking about with Sid?
Yes.
The internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Snarky Puppy makes me feel that way. Norman Brown and Najee make me feel that way. So, but it's up there as far as just making me sit back with a goofy grin on my face all the way through. It's definitely up there. So as a listener, as a purveyor of music, like a deep purveyor of music, bless our listeners with something right now that they, like, if you can, that they may not be aware of, that'll just blow their mind, or at least enhance their day, you know, put a smile on their face.
There's this artist whose name is floating around right now, I think it's Reggie Snow, and it's spelled a really weird way. It's like REJJ Snow. Snow is spelled the way it's supposed to be. And he actually did an EP I found him through it's REJJE Snow. He did an EP recently. You can find it on Apple Music, or I'm sure Spotify. It was only like 3 or 4 songs. And it was a rabbit hole for me. And I usually like to double check, make sure I'm not losing my mind. Maybe make sure I'm not having an off air day. I'll pass it to somebody whose opinion of music I trust. And I'll be like, yo, let me know how you feel about this. And for this one, I've got nothing back but positive responses of like, yo, I've been listening to this dude in these songs all day. That's one. And if you don't know who these two artists, to me, like, go hand in hand. If you don't know who Sabrina Claudio is, and if you don't know who Daniel Caesar is, you're really missing out. Last year was a strong year in R&B, and it's carrying over into this year. So some of these artists who you might not know their names, especially like mixed or black artists doing R&B, give them a shot, because they are taking it back to like this Soulquarian sound that we've kind of been missing from the pop dance R&B shit that Chris Brown is still doing 45 times on one album. I mean, there are some really good singers out here, and they put out some really good albums, and a lot of these people were actually writing for bigger names, and then we're like, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. There's an artist called Bibi Borelli who was writing for Rihanna, and she's got her own mixtapes and her own EPs, and they are phenomenal. There are a lot of artists out here. There are a lot of really, really good. I couldn't name one. The best things now are playlists, new age playlists, R&B playlists, and even rap playlists that have a sound relative to somebody you like. I would just go turn them on and just let them play, because you're going to discover something really dope. And Spotify is really good at this too. Spotify discovery is pretty damn accurate. If you've been listening to a certain type of music for a while, Spotify discovery will recommend artists that fit right into that.
Yeah, I agree. Cause I've found, I'll be focused on kind of like 80s, synth heavy kind of stuff, and then they'll throw stuff at me that people are doing now that kind of is in that same wheelhouse, and it's just like, oh yes, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. So yeah, definitely the Discover Weekly. I stay in the Discover Weekly kind of scanning, because sometimes they throw in stuff that you've heard before that you'll recognize, but then they throw in the other stuff, and it's just like, oh, okay, let me check this out. Oh yeah, this is great. Let me add this to this playlist. Let me add that to this playlist. So yeah. Definitely the Discover part on Spotify is great.
Yeah, Spotify threw me down a rabbit hole of new white artists that for a genre that I didn't even know what the name of it was. I still don't know. I still think it's like a mixture between like blues, grass, but like soft rock, but also like acoustic. I don't know what to call it, and I think it's also like labeled as indie pop sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But they took me down a rabbit hole of artists, and I was like, oh my god, I've just added like 11 albums to my list, and then these artists started popping up at festivals. So it went from you go to a festival with 40 artists on the flyer, and you'd be like, well, I know 6 of these niggas, so I guess these are niggas I'm gonna go see. It turned from that into 4 artists that I like that are on my Spotify playlist right now performing at the same fucking time. Who am I gonna go see, or am I gonna just be running back from stage to stage to stage? 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and 10 minutes here to try to catch wind of all of them. It became dope like that. So, shout out to Spotify. There's a reason that their market value right now, and their stock might be worth a purchase.
Yeah.
I think it's at a low right now.
Yeah.
So.
It's on my list of things to buy once I win the lottery.
I mean, you could give up 3 or 4 video game purchases and purchase you 1 share of Spotify.
You know what? See, the way my bank account is set up, you know what though, real talk, I could. That's real. My one of my uncles was telling me the same thing. Like, yo, if you just like I had a thought. I thought that you had to buy a minimum amount of stock to be able to purchase stock, and he was like, nah, you can piecemeal it. Like, he was like, when I bought, because he had stock in Starbucks, he bought it when it was a penny stock. He was like, but I didn't buy like 4,000 shares all at once. He was like, it takes time. Like, you get it here and then you have money, so you put it here. He was like, it just depends on what you want to do with your money. Where's your love at?
You let the stock buy itself. Yeah, I always tell people to invest in the shit that you care about. If you love Adidas sneakers and you and all your homeboys love Adidas sneakers, then you might need to buy some stock in your niggas. That's pretty much how you should gauge where to go. I mean, if people didn't know that like Netflix stock or whatever wasn't going to be amazing, then they were tripping. It was right there. God, if I could go back in time and buy Amazon stock when Toys R Us didn't think they were a real competitor, I probably wouldn't have to work right now, because I would have just kept letting the growth in Amazon stock purchase more shares from me. That's like them and Google now are just, if you're trying to buy stock in that, you're not going to be able to pay your rent.
Yeah.
That seems to be where they're at. So yeah, keep an eye out, because there's always new innovations out here. And if you see something growing, like a Snapchat or an Instagram, you might want to start buying stock in it. And, if you lose money, at least you took a chance.
But if you make money.
Right. See?
That's a beautiful thing. Got to take that risk sometimes.
Yeah, scared money don't make money.
Accurate.
Also works on domino tables.
What, scared math don't make math?
No, scared money don't make money. Like, study long, study wrong. And then they want to jump over the table at you and it gets awkward. But other than that, spades too. Spades always. Spades, there's always a fight. I stopped playing spades with certain family members.
Yeah, I don't sit at the table. I don't have the patience for you to be talking to me like I'm Tyler.
Right? Right? You gonna play soon? Punk ass nigga? Who? What? What? Grandma? What? How the temerity? Like, nah, I'm alright. I'll eat food and watch. You know what? We've been at this for a cool hour. That's what's up. We'll be right back. This is Single Simulcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Classic, CEO and co-founder of the CSPN network. And when I'm not working on the many podcasts on our network or just hanging out, I'm listening to Single Simulcast, and so should you.
This is the Black David Hasselhoff on the Midnight Storm, and you are now tuned in to Single Simulcast.
Yo, this is Phenom Black from the Where's My 40 Acres podcast, and if your daddy wasn't an ashy nigga, then you're probably listening to the Single Simulcast podcast right now. Peace.
Hey, lovely people. Give these other lovely people money because they work hard and they deserve it, and they are an amazing contribution to humans everywhere. You're listening to Single Simulcast.
That was simply sensational. Single Simulcast shall surely surface speedily. Bitches.
Hi, this is your man Jeremy from the Crown of College podcast, and you are listening to Single Simulcast with my man Rashani and Shantae Fabulous, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. And I'm your favorite podcaster, so that should be your favorite podcaster, because I'm your fave, and your fave's fave. Check them out on Single Simulcast, and check out Crown of College, found wherever you can find great podcasts and the CSPN network.
Who Raised You podcast is a kitchen table conversation between Karen, Jolly, and Yang, and
Treasure Shields Redmond.
As we explore how culture, family, and intersecting identities pave our way toward liberation, we want to know who raised you. We're curious and sometimes a bit irritated.
But by night,
Sit down, we have lots to talk
New York
about.
City in a different way.
My name, champ, is Red Wing.
Do I need to count the sheer number of felonies you committed today?
As she lay dying, I promised my mother that I would fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves, and I refused to let her down.
I would do anything to keep you safe, you know that, anything.
Even murder?
If that's what it took, then yes.
I am the defender of Newark City.
Justice is not something you can manufacture.
I am Red Wing.
Hello, this is Stephanie from the Mocha Minutes podcast, and you are listening to the Single Simulcast with Rayshani and Shantae Fabulous, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast. That sounds about right. So, wherever you can find good podcasts, that is where you'll find the Single Simulcast. So please check them out. And while you're there, please check out the Mocha Minutes podcast. All right, see you guys later.
Why you holding that Cheeto like a cigarette?
Yeah, boo.
In your mouth. Where's my mama's cigarette? Y'all know my mama, when my mother died,
oh my God.
She was trying to quit smoking, and she had a one of those cigarettes, one of them vapes. Nigga. So sometimes I walk around with it in my ear.
Nigga.
Wow.
Nigga.
Got a Lucy. She got Cheetos.
Pam. Nigga. Pam was smoking.
Oh,
Did
shit.
Pam know if the mid was still selling? That's what I need to know.
Pam probably was selling the mid.
Okay. Hey,
my mama know how to get a couple coins.
Man, this is my song for real.
She was resourceful. My mother was resourceful. Oh, y'all, speaking of Pam, let me just tell y'all this real quick. When I cleaned up Pam's house after she died, the 50 Shades of Grey book was open on her nightstand. Pam was reading 50 Shades of Grey, and I saw a vibrator in her purse when she died, y'all.
I know this
I said, I ran to my brothers and said, what your mama doing?
Listen,
that's why
I
love Pam,
I gotta clean my life up before anybody find me.
Pam's trying to get up in that red roof.
You gotta go to the Lord because won't He make you clean inside?
We got tons of lawsuits, but did you see the loop-de-loop? At Action Park, come get a beer. You might get hurt if you're a pussy.
If you're a pussy.
But come on, man, we gotta loop-de-loop.
Don't be a pussy.
There's a freaking loop-de-loop. And yeah, you might get a leg or two broken. But really, guys, what
come on out.
We got a loop-de-loop. Why are you acting so scared?
Oh my god.
There's a loop-de-loop. A freaking loop-de-loop. By the way, shall I say it again? A loop-de-loop.
I need this 6-hour commercial to end.
And if you die, we got insurance.
No, they don't.
We're insuring you. We got a loop-de-loop right there, children.
The only insurance they have is
loop-de-loop.
The only insurance they have is that you will have fun.
In a freaking water park. They got a cliffhanger. We got a loop-de-loop. In fact, our name, it's freaking loop-de-loop. We're not Action Park anymore. We're officially loop-de-loop.
Officially loop-de-loop.
Do you see it, children? The freaking loop-de-loop.
Okay. I don't know if I can hear you sing loop-de-loop one more time. I feel like the core message was loop-de-loop.
That is their whole message. Dog, we have a loop-de-loop.
I don't know how that's a thing that makes money.
Single Simulcast, episode 288. Shantae's here. Brandon from Where's My 40 Acres is here. So, Gary Owens and Michael Blackson are friends who have been joking back and forth at each other on Snapchat, I believe. And on one of the last videos that Michael sent over to Gary, it was challenging Gary to say the word nigga.
Ew.
So what Gary did, because Gary's white, is he had his wife, who's black, say it for him. And folks are understandably upset, saying that it was out of pocket. They knew what he was trying to achieve by doing it. And then there's other folks who are like, it's comedy. And you just gotta let comedians be comedians. And what I noticed on this situation was the same that I noticed with Dave Chappelle to an extent, which is if you ride for somebody, if you ride for a comedian, if you ride for an artist, whatever it may be, in your mind, they can do no wrong. But at the same time, if you're unaware of their work, or if you're not feeling them as much as the next person, sometimes they could do no right. You know what I'm saying? And so, with Gary Owen, I was reading up on it. I was looking at people's thoughts and opinions on it and everything. And it seems to be divided down the line between people who are like, well, he was never funny to me, so therefore fuck him, versus the people who are like, he's hilarious, and I think that we should just let him cook because comedy is comedy. I don't want to get into a situation where I am saying to somebody who does something that ain't shit, ain't that bad because I liked one of their shows. You know what I'm saying? I don't ever want to be that person. And honestly, I was that person before when we were all younger, and I'm good on going back. But is it fair to say that in this day and age of social media and folks fucking up on social media, folks are going to get passes if they're adored rather than getting vilified if they are unknown or not as loved as they could have been? Like, for example, one person said Gary Owen talked bad about Monique, so it's been fuck him ever since. Another person said, well, I never fucked with Monique either, so fuck her too. And then it just kind of went from there. And the same thing was happening with Wanda Sykes and whatnot when they were asking about how much money how much money do you think they should get to be on Netflix or whatever it may be? Well, I don't think they're funny, so I don't think they deserve that much money. And it's all based on opinion at this point in time. I don't even know what the question was anymore. Fuck. I had one. But at this juncture in time, do you think that this is something that's going to get better or get worse as time goes on?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get better or if it's going to get worse. I think one thing is like we're going to hear it more. Before before social media and the internet and all this different kind of stuff, a lot of these people could do what they want to do on the stage, and that was really it. And either you saw it or you didn't, and you fucked with it or you didn't fuck with it. But if you didn't fuck with it, like for real, you weren't necessarily, you probably didn't have access with a whole bunch of people the way you have access to now, like on Twitter, on Facebook, who also don't fuck with it, where y'all can be loud together, and y'all can email somebody or y'all can write a blog or do all the, your reach is bigger now or whatever. But so I think it's just going to exist rather than get better or get worse. As far as Gary Owen or any of these comedians that say whatever they say and it comes across as problematic to this person or that person, I think the problem is that people who like shit don't know how to deal with people who don't like it, and have valid concerns about it. Like they fit, like this idea that you should just let it ride is a problem. Like, it's one thing if it's just like, okay, you don't fuck with this, that's cool, you don't fuck with it. I'm gonna go keep watching this. I'm gonna go keep enjoying this. People internalize and personalize their media choices so much that when somebody says something about it and says like, oh, I don't fuck with this is transphobic, they instead of investigating why they think it's okay, thinking like, oh man, well, is it transphobic? Like, man, what does that mean? Like for me, if I feel like I'm not a transphobic person, or if I feel like I don't give a fuck, why am I so upset? Instead of investigating that shit, it's just pushback. And so that's where I think the problem is. It's just like, okay, you don't fuck with this, cool, you don't fuck with it. Or you really like it, then, you really like it. Maybe somebody won't fuck with you because you really like this thing. Let the chips fall where they may. Everybody's not going to like everything. People are going to make decisions how they're going to make decisions. Do what you got to do.
Got any thoughts on it, Brandon?
Okay, so I think what Shantae says is true. I think that is one perspective that is very accurate. I think so. I'm trying to figure out where to start because there's a lot here. It is. It's a lot more layers to this than I think people want to give it credit for. Like they don't actually respect the conversation that we're trying to have. Right? So they're just like, oh, it's this type of person or it's this type of person. And there's so many different layers to this, and there's so many things that get lumped together that I think are not the same thing. So let's start with Gary Owens. Gary Owens is a fucking cornball. I don't fucking like Gary Owens. I think that he tries to get a pass into blackness by being the corny, cool white dude who is married to a black woman, so he gets us. And I'm Token from South Park in this situation, and I'm waiting for Kyle to realize that he doesn't get it. No matter how cool or down he thinks he is, he doesn't get it. And at the end of the day, every day, Gary is white. He's a white man in America. Listen, bro, I don't care that you have mixed kids. Mm-hmm. Your kids are mixed. They are black. Motherfucker, you are white. And he thinks it's funny to be a habitual line stepper and to, poke people on the black side and see what he can get away with. Michael Blackson is a comedian who lives off of controversy. He's going to do what he's going to do. I don't pay that much attention to it because his comedy has always kind of been a bit one-note childish to me. He's antics. He's black slapstick. It's whatever. That he can make his money however he wants. I really don't care what he's doing. And him doing something with Gary Owens doesn't get that motherfucker a pass to get his wife to say nigga, knowing exactly what he's doing, because he really wants to say it like every other wannabe down white dude out here. Mm-hmm. That is corny. Now, as far as because you like people, you let them get a pass. That is true. People do that shit. R. Kelly is still out here getting passes. Chris Brown is still out here getting passes. Bill Cosby still got supporters and defenders. I'm sure there are a lot of niggas that can't wait to line up to buy tickets for the next Nate Parker film. It goes how it goes. But then there are people who are like myself, who love Run the Jewels and can't listen to Killer Mike anymore right now. Who
right?
Who at the same time cannot despise ashy face ass Michael Rappaport, but love the show Atypical on Netflix, where he plays the father and does a really good job at it. Like, I will, when Atypical season 2 comes out, hopefully whenever it does, I will be watching it because it is a really good show. He plays the dad. He did a really good job. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit. He's a dirtbag, ashy white piece of shit. Okay? Like, I pray that he gets punched on the fucking street tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., with a cup of coffee in his hand. Because he is just a trash individual. And there is a line between white guys like him and Gary Owen, or not a line, like a chain, like a link. Because both of them have went after black women in the media, which to me is even more trash. Michael Rappaport really does think he's a black. He thinks he's a nigga. He really does. Gary Owen wants to be a nigga. Michael Rappaport thinks he is a nigga. That's the only real difference between the two. And I can tolerate him on a show that I like because I like all the other characters as well, and I like the show. But outside of that, fuck him. He's a piece of shit, and I'm not giving anybody a pass. For the sake of just giving people passes. And I think that. You mentioned Rashani, the whole, the Netflix incident with Monique, where I was, as far as in our circle, I was in the minority that I am not a Monique fan. I've never really liked her demeanor. I can say that she is a good actress. She has definitely been funny and stuff. I watched that Christmas movie that they did a little while ago. And the first time I watched it, I didn't think it was that great. The second time I watched it, I was like, okay, maybe I was being a little harsh with this. And she's funny in that, and she's fine in that. I watch Fat Girls all the time because I like it. Not because I want to poke fun at it. I actually enjoy the film. It's probably not that great of a film, but I watch it. I watch the Parkers. I've never been a fan of her in interviews and running her mouth. I've just never been a fan of her old demeanor and stuff. And the stories that have circulated and the way she fuels things. I didn't like the way she fueled this Netflix shit. Mm-hmm. Okay? I just wasn't a fucking fan. And I don't think that she, as far as the contract was concerned, I was like, that's Netflix's money. They can do what they're going to do. Like, everybody kept comparing her to Amy Schumer. And everybody was comparing her to Amy Schumer from a subjective standpoint. But from a logical, financial standpoint, Amy Schumer had a better fucking year the first 18 months before this conversation came to head. Okay, you don't sell out Madison Square twice. You don't get an $8 million book deal. You don't have a $133 million film on a budget of like $20 million or $40 million, where she made $300,000 off the film. She grew in popularity for her crowd, which was, I think, white teen girls in college and 40-year-old white women at home. It wasn't niggas. That wasn't her demographic. So of course we didn't think she was funny, and we didn't think Netflix should have gave her $16 million. Of course we didn't. Of course we want Monique to make more money than that. We more connect with her. We more follow her career. We're more aware of her work. But that didn't translate to dollars. And maybe Netflix doesn't care about that. Maybe they just didn't want to give her the deal because she is a black woman. That is always a possibility as well. Because the industry is trash. As much as you try to defend it or not, that shit is trash. I don't think Big Bang Theory is funny at all.
Nope.
And it is the number one fucking comedy on late night on television. I do not think they should be getting paid over $1 million. I hate the fact that Friends was getting paid $1 million per person an episode. I think that is atrocious. Cause that shit is not funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fucking funny to me. But it's funny to a whole lot of people. And, that plays a part in it as well, as far as that conversation goes. Yeah, man, you want to see people that you like win. And you want to vouch for those people. And sometimes you do want to blindly support people. And honestly, I think sometimes you're okay doing that. I think sometimes it's fine for you to be like, you know what? I just want to support this person. I do this shit all the time. Cardi B's album could have been mediocre, and I still probably would have been like, it's not that bad, guys. Because I like her as a person.
Yep.
I want to see her win. So I have a bias towards her. It just so happened that the album fight. So it's a win-win for me, because I like her as a person, and now I really like this fucking album. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
When 90059 came out.
Hey, J-Rock is fucking fire, though.
Right? But I was like, this is the album of the year!
No, when YG released his debut, I was all over it. That shit was fire. I was like, this is a Bloods version of Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City. This is the most hood version of Good Kid, Mad City you could get. Like, he really think he on his Kendrick right now, but it's fire.
Mm-hmm.
I like that shit.
It's like, I think that the advent of social media makes things that we would have kept to ourselves. Well, it puts it out there in the world. And so there's always going to be somebody who feels differently than you do about your opinion. And the question is, the mark of maturity is, what are you going to do when they say, fuck that nigga?
Yeah, you got to know when to be like, okay. Like, for instance, there are people who are really upset that Cardi B's album is getting the love that it's getting.
Yeah.
I don't understand them. I don't know who undercooked their eggs this morning. It's really not my prerogative to care. What I'm not going to do is argue with them either, because they don't want to like it. Some stuff I feel like you just don't want to like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hey man, you can be like that. It's some shit I don't want to like. Like Logan. A lot of people like Logan. I'm not going to ever like Logan. I don't want to like that shit.
You mean the Little White Boy or the movie? Because the Little White Boy is a piece of shit.
I don't know who the white boy. You're talking about Logan Paul? Paul? I'm not talking about him. He's definitely trash. I'm talking about the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the white people's western with claws. That's the most brown-nosing critic booty hole ass film of 2017, man. And I refuse to like it. I just won't like it.
I feel that.
No, so, and that's me being biased. Like, people that say, oh, he hating. I am absolutely hating. And sometimes you need to flourish in your hate. Sometimes you need to just acknowledge that shit. You know,
see,
the first step.
I dig that. Cause that's really what sometimes it needs to be. It's just like, if you can just say, okay, I don't fuck with that. Fuck that. Nah, I don't give a fuck what you say. I don't care how good you think this shit is. I don't like it. Fuck it. No, yeah. Stop trying to get me to listen to it. I don't want to hear it. And just be, I don't think a lot of people, they try to intellectualize it. I think is where they get, and then they start trying to say shit and they're trying to intellectualize it, and then somebody's poking holes in their shit. Just say you don't like the shit. Can't nobody poke holes and you don't like the shit. It's just like, I don't like it. And then that's it. There's nothing to argue with. It's just like, I don't like it.
And I think that's a dope perspective, right? Like, that makes 100% sense. On the flip side, though, there are also people whose bias is to just hate on shit.
Scar.
And that's where the problem comes in for me. Like, if I see y'all partying over in the corner, I'm not about to walk up in the middle of your shit and drop a deuce. That's fucked up.
Word.
It's no reason for you to do that. And that's what I feel like was actually happening to me on the timeline today on Twitter when I was like, tweeting out Cardi lyrics. Like, you can clearly see that I'm jamming. And motherfuckers that don't even follow me on Twitter felt the need to get in my mentions and be like, that album ain't dope. Motherfucker, I ain't asked you.
Right.
I didn't ask you shit. Like, I didn't come to your house. I didn't send for you. So, and that's the way I look at it. It's different if we having a conversation and we sharing perspectives. We sharing opinions. That's different. That's invited, right? But if you see some people party, like, I'm not about to run up in a Logan thread and be like, fuck Logan.
Right.
But if we have a conversations about films in 2017 and somebody randomly throws out during the discussion Logan was one of the top 5 best films of 2017, then I'll be like, man, fuck Logan. And I'm not even going to put an explanation. I'm just going to be like, man, fuck Logan. It should be on the t-shirt. The same way I feel like that shit's not for me. Should be on the t-shirt. It's just not for me.
Everything's not for everybody.
Yeah, people need to be okay with that. Like, it's cool to tell somebody, hey man, I feel I appreciate that you love that shit. It's not for me though.
And you know what? That would literally change so many things. So many little things that become big things can be solved as easily as, you know what? That's just, it's my opinion. And if they didn't even have to say it's my opinion, because it's literally their opinion, if the other person just recognized it as such and was just like, you know what, I feel that. I respect that. And just go back to your corner or just stay the fuck out the conversation. I don't walk over to people who are eating liver and like, ugh. Well, wait a minute, I take that back, because I was listening to an episode that we did last year, I believe, where it turned out that a kid drowned his eggs in ketchup, and I damn near threw him out of my house.
Hey, kids do that shit, bro. Their taste buds is underdeveloped.
That shit was shitty. Plus, it was my ketchup, and it was like, dude, like, my whole bottle. Like, when people are like, do you want some eggs to go with your ketchup? It's just like, motherfucker.
I've seen adults do that shit, though, bro. It's a warped world out here.
Six-head world.
living in your own subjectiveness is cool. Attacking other people for no reason though is not, and you got to figure out what people are doing so you can, put them in the right group. And Facebook is full of people that will just attack you for your opinion when you did not send for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's uninvited hate. It's uninvited opinions. It's uninvited commentary. And they just want to do it to troll. They just want to do it to fuck up the game.
Or they want to do it to get their ghetto star.
It's some salty shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's some real salty hurt nigga shit. Like some booty butt hurt nigga shit. And that's what I don't tolerate. That's what I just be like, you know what? I'm not even trying to talk to you. So we can't have a real conversation about this. Plus, why would I want to converse with you about this? That's still something when you dealing with conversations with old hip hop heads. They do not want to like new music. They don't. They don't want to like new music. They don't want to like Kendrick. They don't want to like Chance. They don't want to like Childish. They don't want to like Cole. They definitely don't want to like Future. Like they don't want to like these dudes. They don't want to like Migos. And I feel sad for them, because there are albums that were around during their time that are worse than the albums that they claim now are bad. But they living in a time warp. So I gotta kind of let them thrive in their own booty butt hurtness. I
can't. Oh, go ahead.
No, my bad. I'm talking about. I feel bad for them.
Yeah, like what I was gonna say was, yes, old hip hop heads do not want to like new music. And the thing that I always think of, the album that I always think of is MC Brain's album. Like that is the album that I got. Like that's the album in my mind of, you can't tell me that 90s hip hop was this perfect,
oh my God,
this perfect instance of rap music when MC Brain's album exists in that time frame. Shante. You cannot tell. You can't, like, you're just like Brandon said, they're living in a time warp. It's just like there's two, like, no, like, yes, all this other awesome stuff happened in that decade or within whatever time frame, but there's some bullshit that you will never revisit, on some, I really like this in that time frame too. So just let these kids like what they like and stop down talking them.
And to piggyback on that, I think that if you make this decision in your head that I'm not fucking with this music at all, you're missing a whole lot of great music. And sure, I'll give it to you. You might chance upon one song by one artist that on a fluke you just really don't like. Like there's a dude, because, Brandon, you remember Kenny, right? My son?
Yeah.
He's the same jerk, troll, asshole that he was when he was 10, 11, 12, and 13. And now he's listening to troll music. Like, he'll come up to me and he'll play a song. I forget who the kid is. He has a song called D-Rose. And that's all he says for like 3 minutes. D-Rose, D-Rose, D-Rose. Huh?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of the kid, but I know what you're talking about.
And so I hear that song and I'm like, okay, why are you playing this for me? Turn this off. And he'll turn it off, but then he'll put on something else right behind. And I'm like, this slumps right here. This slaps. So if you are just of a mindset of this new rappers, this new music isn't for me, I'm going to stay in my own bubble of 90s hip hop or early 2000s R&B or whatever, you've missed out on the internet. You missed out on Kendrick. You missed out on Chance. Like you said, you missed out on Future. You missed out on Leanne LaHavas. You've missed out on
shit.
Just Kimbra. Like beautiful opportunities to hear just wonderful new artists who are really coming into their own because you don't want to step out. And I think that's people need to figure out what their comfort zone is and then strive to take 2 steps past it. And to me personally, and again, personally, to me, that's a sign of maturity. When you're like, okay, I know that this is my comfort zone, but yet I have to try this. I have to go out and experience this. Otherwise, I have no right to talk about it.
Yeah. Like, we're in the era of Kendrick, Childish Gambino, King, for people who know who King is, the internet, Frank Ocean, Beyonce and Solange, Jay-Z's 444. Like, if you're out here acting like, and at the same time, Cardi, Rhapsody, Migos, Future, Crit, Jack White's, some amazing rock groups, like Cherry Glazer. If you're out here and you're like, music is dead, hip hop is dead, you're not a music fan, bruh. I take breaks from music, and that's typically when I get into like audiobooks or podcasting. But they're breaks. They're ways for me to purge my palate so that I can come back and let my mind paint a whole new picture of the greatness that's out here to listen to. So if that's how you living your life in a box, bruh, I don't know how you comfortable. You definitely can't let your hair down in that shit, bro, dog. Like, you're wilding and you being angry for you just living a crab's life. Yeah, I feel bad for you, cause I tell you, the Redman had a few good albums, but like after the third one, bruh, they weren't that great. That second DMX album is tolerable.
Wait. Is that when the Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood?
Yes, sir.
That third one was horrible.
The third part, the one with Party Up on it, is just bad all around.
I'll give him the first two because I liked the first one. The first one was gritty. And for somebody who, I think that was the year that I moved from California to Waldorf, for my senior year in high school, was when, It's Dark and Hell is Hot had really just hit. And then Flesh of My Flesh came out, and for me, the one that connected those two was the Damien songs, and then the Omen with Marilyn Manson.
Mm-hmm.
But that third one, like, that third album was just so bad. And folks are like, yo, DMX the legend. I'm like, off of the 2 albums? Like, are we doing that now? But that's their opinion.
It's a lot of albums in the 90s that aren't that good. I'm sorry, like, I'm not even gonna sit here and act like Ice Cube had some of the dopest projects back then. I'm sorry. I'm not lying. Like, y'all niggas had Ice-T. Like, get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Dude was literally just saw a lane and hopped in it and did not care if he was a good rapper or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just was looking for the next come up so he could get into acting, which was a come up. And that's where his ponytail and him was making money after that. Don't care for them bars out here in these streets. Like, I like Chuck D. I think Public Enemy was cool, but it's not, look, I'm not looking forward to the next Chuck D album. KRS-One got like 15 albums out here that niggas ain't listening to.
Oh God. I'm sorry. I could never, I
go
tried.
Down the list. You can go down the list. It's a fucking list.
Let's do it like this. I'll throw this one out there real quick.
Ooh.
I will give Eminem 3 good albums.
That's what he has. He got 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery is tolerable, but his first 3 projects, I will be that guy and say they are classic hip hop albums. Slim Shady, the Eminem Story, and the Marshall Mathers LP are classic hip hop albums.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else he's done has been a fucking mess. Okay, whether he was sober or not. It has been a fucking mess. And that last album he did is just pure trash. And, you know, and it's like he's gone. It is, you know, he's gone. You just gotta know when. Exactly. Everybody ain't gonna have a full run. And I find it amazing that people will claim that somebody like Kanye West isn't that good. But Kanye West has a undeniably, in my opinion, solid catalog. Okay? You might not like Yeezus, but from a production standpoint, it's not too many albums fucking with that shit. Whether you don't think he can spit or not, Kanye always gonna be able to produce some genius shit on a project. And he's always gonna have his tone, his delivery, whether it's written by him or not, it's still gonna be dope. Like, Drake to me ain't that consistent. Kendrick is on what, his 4th or 5th album at this point? Since 2010?
Yeah.
That's consistency. There's no argument there. Childish Gambino has 3 above good projects. His projects have gotten better since his Camp debut. There are rappers like before that though. How many rappers could you name that did that? How many? You could even say Ghostface or Raekwon and them did it. Jay-Z had joints that people was throwing away, even though they're graded on the Jay-Z curve. Don't say Nas' name.
Nah.
You know, Bone Thugs got albums that dudes stopped singing to back in like 98.
E40, I think for E40, which, you know, I'll stand for him. I haven't listened to an E40 album in like, it's been years. And he's come out with albums. I mean, he's still doing it. It's just,
yeah,
it doesn't.
But they gotta eat, and they got a core fan.
Exactly.
But dudes like Scarface, you know, and it was somebody else that I had on the tip of my tongue that I can't even think of. But like Ludacris has a mediocre discography run. T.I. has a mediocre discography run. You know, and very rarely do you get an Outkast or a Tribe Called Quest. Very rare. Even Common doesn't have a good run in his discography.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people be acting like back in the day, dudes was putting out stellar album after stellar album after stellar album, and that is a lie. It's selective memory.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. And now you actually have artists that are doing this. Bruh, we have a Kendrick. I'm sorry, we have a Kendrick. This is a man that can do no wrong at this point when it comes to making an album.
Quiet as kept. TDE as a whole. I mean, maybe not Absol, because that album that he did where he had Stigma out on it was rough. But Kendrick and Schoolboy, I mean, every time I hear him, I get more and more impressed with what he's doing.
Yep.
I think the last guest track that I heard him on was with Joey Badass. And it was the one where he was like, I'm the reason why they still cripping in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I know
that was amazing to me. Like, Schoolboy, and I think it's because Schoolboy, Kendrick, J-Rock, and then Absol are all pushing each other. Like, they are a group that's helping you. Like, yo, that's not good enough. Yo, you got to do more than that. Yo, I'm putting this right here. What are you doing to keep up with me? That's my theory, at least, that they're with each other and helping each other push, quite in the same way that it could have been if Snoop and Corrupt and Daz had any consistency. Snoop. Because we talked about on another show that I did with Charlie. I did a show for her Word to the Mother podcast, coming soon, about Snoop. Snoop had one good album, and then he had another good album when he left No Limit with The Last Meal, and everything before that, or everything in between those two, were not good, but people were like, Snoop's a legend off of Dre's album, Doggy Style, and The Last Meal. Oh, and
what did they say about the Dog Father? Anybody talk about the Dog Father?
No.
Anybody talk about that time he was running with Master P and them?
That's what the wolf motherfucker.
Yo, he will be ignoring these periods in time. Like, dudes remember the videos from Ego Trip, but y'all don't remember that album. Cause y'all don't remember that blue carpet treatment like that. I remember Beautiful. They ain't the album it came from though. Like, they don't be remembering stuff, bro. They don't be remembering this stuff. They just be running like Snoop a legend. Based on what, bruh? Let's go to his Wikipedia page and fill us out.
And that's where it falls apart. When you do a show where you gotta, cause when I do a show about music, I'll go to the Wikipedia page. Cause I'm not gonna remember everything unless it's something that's just like stand out. Like right now, Kendrick, we could do a show right now and we'd all be able to talk about him probably without the use of Wikipedia, but for, to get everything right and proper, you use Wikipedia, and you look and you like, God damn.
Yeah, like, where's the misstep? And hip hop back in the day, dudes took chances, and at the same time, dudes didn't take any chances. Jadakiss has been rapping the exact same way for 20 years. Fabulous has been rapping the exact same way for 20 fucking years.
Not much longer. He going to jail.
Yeah, well, we hope he going to jail. When you got supporters like Lil Mo running their damn mouths out here, ain't no telling where the hell you going.
Right.
Because everybody thinking out their ass. So, yeah, I think that there are artists who did great things. I think there are artists who did good things. I think there are artists who did a thing. It just depends on how you look at it all. I'm not trying to get nobody more clout than they deserve.
Unpopular opinion. Will Smith has more good albums back to back than Eminem. But then he put out Code Red and fucked it all up for everybody.
I give you an unpopular junk. Will Smith probably got more good albums than Tupac. And I know niggas that'll cut me over saying that.
You know what? I used to. And Shantae knows I used to, but you know what? I loved his first 4, and then he died, and niggas was like, let's dig up everything.
I like Tupacalypse, and I like the first disc for All Eyes on Me. I don't touch nothing else from him.
Tupacalypse Now, for me, the one that really, not All Eyes on Me. All Eyes on Me was good too. I love that one as well.
That was actually my first Tupac album.
As a double album, that was the era where a lot of niggas shouldn't have done double albums.
Bro, today is an era where a lot of niggas should.
Yeah. Cause like when they did it then, it was special. Like when Wu-Tang did it for Wu-Tang Forever. And yeah, in All Eyes on Me, it was like, ooh, a double album. You know, this is some shit that, you know, our parents had, you know, in the 70s or something with some, you know, they did it then, but now they're doing it again. You know, it was cool. Now I'm like Chris Brown. What is it, like 45 songs?
Yes.
And I haven't listened to any of them, but it's still just the thought. Like, you tell me Chris Brown 45 songs, and I'm just like, no. What are you doing?
Bro, I think Fergie did a double album.
Did she really? Wow.
Bro. I was scared when Crit did a double album. I still don't think he needed to do a double album, but it was better than I would expected it to be. And I'm a Crit fan, so that scares me when artists are like, I'm doing a double album. I'm like, that's a lot of organization. See, and that's who is doing that right now? Who got a part 2? Drake. Take Care 2 is coming out this year.
Oh.
Albums are not movies. You can't do a sequel to an album. That doesn't make any sense. It makes it's them trying to ride the wave of an album that was popular via the name.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember when Ghostface was talking about he's going to do Supreme Clientele too. Don't nobody want that. Plus, you can't do it. You can't do it. I mean, he doing a lot of comic book music stuff right now. He on the graphics and the rap strength, which is cool because it's getting him some play. So, I mean, shout out to him. Cool. First off, shout out to you, Rashawn. You know, I know you for a minute. I'm glad to see that you're still here. And, you know, Shantae, it was nice talking to you as well. Appreciate y'all for having me on. And as far as where you can find me rambling, sounding smart, but probably making absolutely no sense, is over at where'smy40acres.com. You know, we have just a slew of podcasts, hip hop podcasts, Ratchet discussion. Our tagline is it's a safe place for Ratchet. So you can come kick it with us there. If you want to see my photography, which Rashani is boasting, it's strangecoolworld.com. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram under Phenom Black. That's PHENOMBLAK. No C, please. And other than that, I think that's... Oh, and movietrailerreviews.net is where you can find our film reviews. We did some Oscar season reviews as well. Did some predictions. Got some of them right. Got a lot of them wrong. Yeah, that's pretty much where I be. So, the Facebook page. So it's flashing, you know, like Kanye song Flashing Lights. It's flashing likes, like Facebook likes. Yeah, flashing likes.
Shout out to Brandon for being on the show with us tonight, and shout out to everybody who listens. Leave a review.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Brandon. We greatly appreciate it. We want to thank each and every one of y'all for checking us out, for listening, for sharing the show, for leaving reviews. We got a review from Molly, and I don't even know why. I mean, I don't know if it was because of things we've said or things that I've written, because I've been writing for the page. I've been putting down some thoughts and some poetry for the page, and Shantae's been putting some work in on the page. So we never really know what causes people to come to us. We're just grateful. We want to make sure that the listeners know that there's always a place for them here. We're always here to listen to you. It was just this past week that I had another emotional breakdown. And I spoke about this on the show earlier this week, but another breakdown, and I'm grateful to Shantae and Feeney from Father Teresa's Wine Cellar for helping me out of it, because I was sitting in my car on the freeway, could barely see through the tears, bawling, and then sitting in a parking lot full of people. I understand that feeling when you are surrounded by people, yet you just feel alone. I know how scary of a feeling that is, and I don't want anyone to go through that. And I want you to know that you're not alone, that we are here, and we're here to listen to you. Whether you reach out to us through Twitter, you get to us on the DMs, or you send us an email. I've emailed back and forth with one of our listeners before. I've talked on Facebook Messenger with one of our listeners before, and I'm not saying that our words are going to be what saves you, but our words may be what saves you enough, what keeps you going to the next day. It may not even be words. Like I said, we are excellent listeners. I just don't want you to think that nobody's there and nobody's listening. And if you're one of those folks who are the support system that everybody else comes to, if you're one of the folks who are always serving other people, if you're the servant, just know that it's okay to break. You know, I understand being strong, but as Feeny and Shantae helped me see, if you are always, because I'm the person who I can put a piece of tape on myself and keep going. If there's a crack, you know, I could just put tape over it or glue over it and everything's fine and it's fixed and just keep going. But if they break, I can't let anybody else break. I need them to be okay. I need everybody to be okay. And if they break, then I feel like it's my fault because I could have listened. I could have done something, you know, to help out. But what was expressed to me that finally reached me, and it doesn't have to reach you the first time. You can hear something a bunch and it reaches you like the 90th time, as long as it reaches you in the time, that if you break, how are you going to be able to help anybody else and keep them from breaking? If you are no longer able to be that support, if you are no longer able to support yourself, how can you support others? So if you have had a day where you couldn't get out of bed, or you couldn't get dressed, or you couldn't shower, or you just couldn't move, you just didn't even want to breathe, you just didn't want to, you couldn't, I understand. We understand. And we just want to be there to help you. We don't judge. We don't. We just want to be another resource for you. Because it's scary out there. And I know that. And I know you know that. Let us know what we can do to be of assistance to you. And remember, it's okay to break. I just told my kids that in basketball a couple days ago. It's okay to cry. It's still the best reset I know. If you can figure out one that doesn't involve drugs, let me know. And I'll gladly pursue that as well. But crying is the ultimate healer for me. And so I told the kids on my basketball team that there's absolutely nothing wrong with tears. There's nothing wrong with crying. And if somebody tells you otherwise and they've got a problem within themselves, don't listen to them. Just keep pushing. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with recognizing when you are about to break. Just don't be scared. Don't be scared. We're not going to judge you. We are here for you, like solely for you. And we just really want you to be okay. This Single Simulcast, episode 288. Shantae, Brandon, and myself. Y'all be good. We out. Peace.
This is Single Simulcast.
Don't know by now that you slip.